Hi, everyone. I'm here with Sarah McGrath Denault. Am I pronouncing that right?
No,
No, okay, I'm not. um,
that's fine.
and I am Morgan Doman, and we're here today to talk about leaving our 9-to-5s. We're both crazy like that. So, Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself first, and then I'll introduce myself afterwards?
Sure. Thank you, Morgan. So yes, I'm Sarah. Hello. I am an RTT practitioner and an artist, a creative entrepreneur. And I left my 9-to-5 about 6 weeks ago, and I'm full force, gung ho, all steam ahead. Let's do this.
Yeah, just to anyone who doesn't know, what does RTT stand for?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So RTT stands for Rapid Transformational Therapy. It's a type of hypnotic therapy that was developed by Marissa Peer, who is a wonderful, amazing woman.
So like I said, my name is Morgan. I am a life and clarity coach, and I have actually been a coach for about 2 years, but I left my 9-to-5 about a week ago. So it's really new for me. I like to say the panic hasn't quite set in yet, but at the same time, it's been so expansive. I don't know if I will panic. So I think that's part of the reason we're having this conversation. Yeah. Yeah, so we both kind of jumped into entrepreneurship, I think, a little bit differently. And I think the beauty of it is like there is no right way to do this.
Right.
What do you like? Do you want to give us a little bit of the backstory, Sarah, how you kind of took the leap?
Sure. So for me, it was an undeniable growing just feeling that I had to jump.
Yeah.
And my gut just not really giving me another option because it's something I've wanted to do for so long. And I felt so out of place in my 9-to-5 and what I was doing before. I just didn't feel like me. And it zapped like virtually all my energy just instantly going into the day, knowing I was doing something that just so wasn't me. And it got to a point where I had no other choice. And I looked at my bank account and said, hey, I could do this. And I just kind of sat with that thought, probably maybe a little too long, but I guess not. What's too long? I called Morgan. She was gracious enough to talk me through it. And after doing so, I was like, yeah, there's no going back. I have to do this. And I set a date in my head. And when it came that date, I could feel it so energetically in me, like, because I wasn't ready to pull the trigger on that day, but then that day came and my body was like, nope, you told yourself this day, that's it. So the next day I put in my letter of resignation and I jumped off the cliff. And it's been great.
Yeah, it's such a brief story.
Morgan,
It's such a great story. Sorry,
yeah.
what did you say?
I was just asking if you could explain what your experience was like in taking the jump.
Yeah, my experience was actually kind of radically different in that it was like very calculated. I would say it was back in April. So about 5 months ago that I was like, that's it. I'm setting a date. It was actually after a very powerful intuitive session that I had with an amazing medium called Casey Ray, who I highly recommend. And I set a date, and then it was a long 5-month march to the end. And what I did in that 5 months, I saved a lot of money. And I just kind of prepared myself. One of the things that I think makes me a little bit different than a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people who just like leave their job, is that I actually liked my old job, which made it like hard for me to leave. And I especially loved the people I worked with. So that was like really hard to say no to. And so it took me a long time to feel comfortable handing over my position and you know, leave. I wanted to leave it with grace and knowing that those people had what they needed moving forward. So yeah, it was a very long and drawn out. I'm not sure I would ever suggest anyone do it quite so long. But I think one of the things that Sarah and I both share is the feeling that you need to set a date, and it's got to be on your calendar and you need to tell all your friends so you have a lot of accountability, because I think even if it's 2 weeks from now or 3 months from now, that energetically is like, yo, universe, I'm not playing. I am not kidding around. And it also helps you face it, because I think so many people just they're scared to face the fact that like, oh, I want to be on my own. I don't want to be working anymore. So yeah, that's how I feel like our stories are very similar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you say like, when you talk about feeling and trusting in the universe, that's ultimately trusting in yourself. And like, that's really what's at the crux of all this. And that's what it's a hard thing to do really sometimes, but it is the most powerful thing you can do, is to just really, we all behave and respond differently. We're all energetically unique, but it is all in the energetics. So that meaning you have to understand and listen to yourself. You know best how you operate. And so you know how it's going to unroll for you and just go. And that meaning it's all in the trusting in your gut and your feelings and what it's telling you. Because if you don't respond to it, it starts to store up in your body, and it will come out in other ways that you aren't gonna like.
Yeah.
So it just, yeah, sort of hone in on that. Look at the practicalities, like, can I make this jump now? Do I know what I need to do to make it, to the other side of the river, whatever embankment? And so just know the logistics and like the real life things, but then trust. It's like all in the trusting. And it's the most beautiful gift you can give yourself, is to like say, hey, I trust you. Let's do this. Let's try it out. And that's where the universe responds. Seriously. And things will happen.
Yeah, you have to. I love that. And I just want to like talk about my own experience when you were just saying like it's going to come out in ugly, bad ways. For me, like I honestly, if I really look back, I had a really big anger problem. Like I was angry at so many things that I couldn't control, and that honestly, like I didn't need to be angry about. And it was because I was angry and frustrated with myself constantly because I was letting myself down. Like, you get to a point, I think, where you're ready, you're energetic, you are ready, you have what it takes. And from that moment on, if you don't trust yourself and you don't believe in yourself, just things don't work out. Like things really don't work out. They get really muddled, and, it's always like, what are you the most scared of doing? And then fucking do that. And I think that's kind of like what this is. And I'm only a week out, and a lot of ways like feelings haven't totally died down, but I just feel so liberated. Like, and I feel so at peace. And, I don't have any issues being accountable with myself. Like I have a schedule and I'm doing it because this is what I want to do. Like every piece of content that I create, every conversation I have, every new thing I design or create, is all in the service of coaching more people. And it's just really like feels so good. It feels so good. Like I feel like 100 pounds lighter and just ready to like hit the ground running. And I had like originally planned this trip and I was like, F that. I just want to work. I just want to like be an entrepreneur. I just want to like live this life. And it feels so good. So good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that, Sarah? Like, I don't know. You're a little bit
Mm-hmm.
further down than me. So maybe I'm still at like the honeymoon phase. Yeah. So tell me how you're feeling.
I'm feeling like I guess I feel similar. Right now I'm in I can't turn off the go mode, and my mind's been buzzing and not allowing me to sleep, which is, a whole other thing. But it but in all honesty, it took me a couple weeks to really calibrate and get into the rhythm, because it was such a stark contrast, and it took me a little bit to sort of hone in on my like base level energy, because I had been so influenced and been allowing myself to be so influenced by many different sources that weren't aligning with me again. And so for the first time ever, I feel like I've had the least amount of external influence on me and my energetic boundaries. So it's allowed me to really understand what I'm feeling and need to work with. And so then I can work through that. And I have worked through any muck I had settling. I've gotten through that. And so now I'm just doing the go time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I remember like the Monday I woke up after like my last day was the Friday before, and I woke up and I was like, what? Like, I can sleep in till 9 and then start working. And then I took a shower at like 11 and I felt like I was cheating.
I know.
I was
Did
like,
you feel like you were did you feel like you were skipping class, or
it
like
did. Oh my God, it totally did. That's so
everyone else is at school? Like,
oh my God, I felt so guilty. And I was like, why do I feel so guilty? This is so stupid.
I
Um,
know.
yeah. It's such a strange feeling because it's so much programming. We're just programmed. Be at school at 7:30, then you go to college, then you work and you have to be there by 9. Like there's so much programming.
Right.
And now I have to like program myself to like be an entrepreneur and like, you know, I do a lot of coaching at night because like that's when clients are available. And like, but so like I've had to start to think about going on dates like for lunch. So like everything about my life has changed. Like I'm like, oh, can you do a lunch date?
That's kind of cool. It opens you up to a new pool of people, maybe.
It does. And also a new pool of people who are also interested in similar things to me and also entrepreneurs and also
Right.
really want freedom of their schedule or just have jobs that have that. So yeah, it's really, really cool. It's really cool. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so if you had like one piece of advice for someone right now, or you could go back, what would it be? Like, what would be your piece of advice?
I think it really would be to trust yourself,
Hmm.
and then start making, like, lay out a plan and a date
Mm.
of like what it'll take to get, what do you need to do, how do you need to break it down
Yeah.
if you're not able to, like, do it so immediately. um just start looking at that, because otherwise when is it going to happen,
Mm.
you know
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
what would you say, Morgan?
It's really tough. I think first of all, do the work, do the, like I mean, I think we have similar stories in this. Like I got into Lacy's work in 2018, in December of 2018. And I think I started on her pathway like mid 2019. So I've been doing this work for almost a year, like um, deprogram or programming and trying to manifest my life the way I want it. And one of the things that I find fascinating, though, is that when I look at all the things that I've been brave enough to step into, yeah, you could call them manifestations, but I also call them really hard work. Just like I worked my ass off to get to where I am, and I showed up for myself, and I did the work, and I keep trying to get deeper. Like, you know, I will never forget the first time I did that shadow workshop with her. It like blew my lid off all this stuff that I was holding. And I just like, it's kind of like the onion. You're just like pulling back the layers of the onion. And, now I'm pulling off more layers. Like, I'm doing RTT with you, and I'm not really ashamed to admit, like, I keep having to learn about myself and keep doing therapy and coaching and, diving deep into who I am, and why I have blocks around stuff, and, dealing with, I have a ton of embodiment issues. Like I have a lot of like separation from my body. So trying to anchor in has always been something I've had to deal with, but like, it's just a process. You have to just keep learning. And every single time you're like, whoa, and it's always about like learning more and more about yourself so that you can keep growing, growing, growing. And of course, like there's that horrible realization, like this is never going to be over. But then like, this is never going to be over. So you might as well just have fun with it, I don't know. Does that resonate with you, Sarah?
Yeah, totally. I oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart right now. Um, oh yeah, I just wanted to say, Lacy Phillips, by the way, is her full name, because you were saying Lacy. So
Oh yeah, no,
anyone watching, that's who we're talking about. Lacy's work is Lacy Phillips and her company, To Be Magnetic. Yeah, that's how Morgan and I connected, is through the Philly community that is connected to doing her manifestation work. And yeah, equally for me, finding her has helped me start the journey into deprogramming, like thoughts that no longer serve me. And it really has led me to the path of becoming an RTT practitioner, which is like an intensive form of the same work, essentially. It's all about the thoughts that we store in our subconscious and how we release them and let them go, and just to remind ourselves how whole we are, because we program ourselves with all these things. We have such a crazy world we're born to, and we pick up things easily and they might not apply now. So it's all about getting rid of that. And yeah, I just as well have been continuing to do work on myself. It's ongoing. And but like without doing the work, I would not be here right now. Lacy's work, I was like in a very low place, in a toxic relationship, extremely unhappy. And within a month of doing her work, I was out of that relationship and making moves, and I got promoted at my 9-to-5. And then months later, moved into my own apartment for the first time. And months later, quit the 9-to-5 and then launching my business. So like really within a year of subconscious work, I've done all these things. And so it is about the work. So yeah, that is also like one strong piece of advice is take a look at yourself and like
Yeah.
really take a look.
Take a look.
And
Yeah.
it's okay. It might be a little scary, but yeah, it's all about you, all with you. The power's all in you. So you just have to like take it out from hiding, take off the scabs or whatever you have that's over the empowered, beautiful, creative, like ready to create worlds you. Just take a look and start unblocking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like choose yourself. Choose the work for yourself. And, I've had the absolute honor of getting to work with so many amazing people at this point and seen them do this work and through my coaching, and like there's just nothing more beautiful than seeing people happier, but also just believing in themselves and their self-worth just skyrockets. And I was actually like, it's funny because when I saw Lacy Phillips live, I'll never forget, she goes, self-worth is the first step, and then knowing you deserve it is the second. And at the time, I didn't really know what she meant, but like I
Mm-hmm.
had to just keep saying to myself, because it's funny, I was sitting with Sarah like almost a month ago, where it was like I had 2 weeks left until the end, and that was so uncomfortable. That like last 2 to 3 weeks at being at my job was so uncomfortable. Every single second was so uncomfortable because I felt like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And oh my God, I'm going to do this. Anyway, where was I going this? Oh, and then like when it finally happened, I was like, I deserve this. Like I deserve to live my life the way I want to live it, and to have freedom of schedule and freedom to do all the things I want to do. And God, when you really believe it for the first time, it's like mind blowing, and I think it's important to say
Mm.
there that like you and I have taken like baby steps, like every, it's just like baby steps until you finally are ready to like jump the cliff. And like I just want to like encourage everyone, just take the first baby step, whether that's join Lacy Phillips pathway, whether that's join, I don't know, a coach like me or a therapist like Sarah, whatever it is that wherever you want to start, just start. And like, as you start, you won't be able to stop, because the freedom that you start to see, like the light at the end of the tunnel gets like closer and closer and closer. You're like, holy shit. You're like, I'm going to do this. Oh my God.
What? I'm here.
You're like,
Oh,
yeah, it's
right.
cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what else should we talk about? Ooh, let's talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
I have an idea.
Well, okay.
Where does self-care come in for you? Like, how has putting yourself first, you were talking about trusting yourself, but have you had to do like self-care, boundary setting, stuff like that has also helped you energetically get to this?
A big one for me has been sleep, because it's something I wasn't doing at my previous job. And and just real quickly to speak to that, earlier Morgan was talking about feeling anger because it was like a reflection, right, Morgan? That's kind of how you were feeling, like you were getting angry because you were angry at yourself.
Yeah.
I my sort of anger, my experience of that was being passive. Like I became really passive in my job, and it became more and more painful to be there because people could see I was passive. I felt passive, and I was just like letting life happen to me. And that is not fun. We are here to be creators. Anyway, so I was just allowing that job to swamp me and my energy. I wasn't like scheduling enough time for sleep. I was just letting it take up a lot of time. So sleep has become a big priority for me because it is very critical. Since energy is critical, it's like the number one, and we need to restore our energy. So sleep and eating good food, those are very important. Otherwise, I just allow myself to respond to myself and where my energy is going, which can be a little chaotic and sometimes drives me bonkers because I want to try and hone it in, but then I say, no, it's okay, just go with it. This is awesome. You can just go with it. So it's, it's give and take, but again, it's like trusting in your gut and what it's telling you to do and what feels right in the moment.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's so important. I'm with you on the sleep thing.
Yeah.
I'm a projector. So like my energy will just die at some point in the day. That's how it feels. And when that moment happens, I just like, I need to rest and stop working. Here's the interesting thing. To anyone, I'm like a projector in human design. And like they say, like projectors are only supposed to work 4 hours a day. I just feel myself, I'm so excited right now that I don't, like, I'm not thinking about hours in the day. I'm not, like at my job, I was like, oh, it's almost 5. But now I'm just like, I have to integrate MailChimp with my Squarespace website. This is so much fun. I mean, I want to like rip my computer apart, but I'm
Right.
like, I can do this. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm not really working. And as cliche as that sounds right now, at least, I'm sure at some point it's gonna get a little, but maybe not, I don't know. But I just have fun, and like content creation for me. I have to say, actually coaching, I do have a cap on how much I can actually do in a day. But besides that, like I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying talking to people and, just having conversations. I don't really consider that work. So yeah. But yeah, sleep is a big thing, eating well. I love to meditate. I pull tarot cards. That's like one of my favorites, self-care practices, like pull them and just start to think like, what does this have to do with today? What does this have to do with finding my boyfriend? Like fun stuff like that. I love it because it also really connects me to spirit really easily, like to my my kind of intuition, which I find is very helpful in the workday. But yeah, I think self-care is such a cool thing to start thinking about. And also because I think I have my schedule free now, my self-care doesn't have to be in the morning or in the evening. It can be whenever I want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about,
That's such a big one, self-care.
yeah, it's so important. It's also really important because as a coach, when I see someone really starting to commit to self-care in whatever modality is right for them, like they switch from being a people pleaser to putting themselves first. And when that happens, it's like a massive energetic shift. And it's really cool to see in my clients. But yeah, and I remember feeling that shift of being like, no, I'm not going to work. I'm not going to answer work text messages at 7 a.m. I'm going to read my book or whatever it was. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so important. What else? I feel like, sorry, one more thing. Do you feel like you've had expanders? Like Lacy Phillips talks about this idea of like expanders. Do you feel like you have any?
Yeah, I've had some for quite some time. I've felt very excited. Um, so for those of you who may not know, Lacy outlines, I think there's 4 steps to manifesting, which is expanders, unblocking. Um, I always mess these up. So there's, yeah, trust, right?
Yeah, grace or trust.
And grace or trust. And then I can't think of the fourth. Anyway, so I was just thinking about this the other day and I went, yes, of course, I know the 4. But usually when I talk them out loud, I can't think of them.
I just think it's that
anyway,
I can't remember either. Keep going. It's okay.
yeah. I mean, it is, but we both know it. Like we know it. It's integrated in us because we've done it enough. But it's just hard to recount it to people, I guess. But anyway, so yeah, expanders. I've had quite a few. So I've been building up my blog and like learning a lot about online everything and how to launch a online business and all that stuff. And it thrills me and excites me. And I worked on it a lot during COVID. Of course, now I'm redoing everything. But I found like a lot of blogs that have been very inspiring for me and have had amazing success stories. So I'm like, okay, I understand how to do it. I know it's been done many times before. I'm going to do this for my own creative business. And so that's what I'm doing. Yeah, those are my expanders. And what I really needed, my last big piece in like this manifesting puzzle for launching into my business has been the unblocking. And honestly, I did the jump before I was fully unblocked, but I couldn't unblock until I was out of that job that was just it was an energetic stuck. And it's like Lacy talks about, if you're doing one thing and saying another or something like that, it's just not going to align and work out. So I was like saying to myself, oh, I can expand into my business and do this while I'm at this job. I just, it wasn't pulling together for me energetically. I couldn't make that work. So I jumped and I was then able to unblock the rest of the stuff that I needed to like get all the wheels functioning. What about you, Morgan? How are you with expanders at the moment?
I honestly, it's funny because I don't really feel like I have any particular expanders, mainly because I don't find there are a lot of life coaches who admit to being in this space. Either they're like still have full-time jobs and it's just a side hustle, or like they claim to be making 5 to 10 grand a month. And I'm just like, and I'm always like, okay, but like, aren't there any life coaches just making like 2 grand a month? Like, can't we start there? So anyway, I feel like I have like a lot of first of all, I just want to say my dad is an entrepreneur, so I feel like I have a little bit of expansion from him already. Like maybe I'm a little bit more expanded in this even as I, than I thought. But I think too, like Jess Baumgartner, who's a health coach, she really got me believing like maybe it's possible. Like I think she was the first person to say to me like, oh, when I started out, I only had 3 clients. I was like, oh, great. Like it is possible, because it just felt like it was either I have 1 client or like 30. And I didn't have that kind of in between group. And so she really helped me. And then I just started to be like, why can't it be me? Right. And as I started to just be able to speak about who I was and what kind of coach I wanted to be and what kind of people I represented, I realized that there really was a niche for me. There is a space for me. I'm a life coach, but I don't like to preach dieting. I don't talk about my smoothie of the month. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just for so many people, like, they don't want a life coach that's going to shove a diet down their throat and tell them if they're not working out every day, then there's no point. Like, and a lot of life coaching is like a little bit toxic. So I just love being in the space of just like, no. Everyone's an individual. Let's just like figure out your life just for you. And that's why I love what I get to do. And also to be a curvy woman in this space is also really exciting, because at first I was terrified, but now I'm so excited because they don't really exist. And like, it's just, it's freeing for me to be like, oh, I can be a life coach and have my shit together, but I don't have to conform necessarily to like society's idea of healthy. So anyway, long story short, I think
It's badass.
I had a lot of like little expanders here and there and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Fragment experience.
Yeah.
You made a good point.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, Lacy talks a little bit about like fragment expanders. But anyway, what were you gonna say?
Yeah. Just that you brought up a good point, and my mind didn't even go to expanders of like what we're doing, which is the in-between of like, what is an in-between? And that's a lot to do with why we're here talking to people about this and filming us talking, is because you don't often see the in-between of entrepreneurs and the journey from nothing to something crazy and big, or super success, but like the really tumultuous, like just jumping into it, kind of like taking off along the journey, tragic part, and no one really talks about it. So it is exciting to just be talking it out here. But yeah, I guess I really do just have a lot of fragment expanders, and for me it's enough to like become one big expander. And something so for me with expansion, I found that one of my blocks has been procrastination. And so through RTT and work on myself, I was able to unblock that. And that was what was keeping me from relating to a lot of the expanders, because like a lot of the bloggers that I see, they're just like, yeah, just do it, and just like hop on in. And like, so the ones who make a crazy successful blog in like a couple months or whatever, it's because they just hop in and do it. They don't perfect things. I'm still working on that, the not perfecting things. I have a design degree, and so my mind just loves to make things just so, but I'm getting much better at that, and I'm not procrastinating though. I'm like doing the thing. But anyway, so it's, yeah.
Yeah, like just to be a little bit of an expander, I sent out a newsletter 2 weeks ago, and the title had a misspelling in it. And I was like, yeah. I was like, I always, whatever, because to anyone here, like I misspell things a lot. I always joke like, well, at least they know it's from me then, right? Like I actually wrote it. But like, yeah, it's so like perfectionism kills entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Being able to make a decision is sometimes just like the most important thing. Just execute and go. And something my business coach has kind of drilled into me, she's like, actually the most important thing to your fans and your people out there is that you're consistent and you're there and they can trust you. Not necessarily that you spell everything correctly or that your photos are perfect. In fact, in our age right now in 2020, in this world full of, confusion and fake news and all that, and all of the people trying to sell you, and I mean, it's authenticity, a little mistake actually tells people, oh, you're safe, you're a real person, you know. It's kind of like on a dating profile when a guy's pictures are all like perfect and he looks so suave and they're all professional, you're like, you're definitely fake. You're definitely like a robot.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, I think it actually is part of the creation and just part of the authenticity. Yeah. Yeah.
Very good point.
We'll have to do like a whole episode just on marketing because, oh man, it is a wild world out there when it comes to marketing. Whew.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so interesting too because I find Instagram and Facebook to be so triggering. I literally can as I'm on longer, I can feel my self-esteem getting lower. Like I've literally started to like see this pattern where I'm like, oh my God, it's Instagram. And so I started to do this thing where like I could only answer comments like on the first like 6 posts and then I have to stop because it just makes you feel like crap. Yeah. Although I do love Instagram.
That's good to have.
It's a love-hate relationship right now. So
Right. But it's healthy that you're setting a policy for yourself.
yes, policy, boundaries, so important, so important.
Yeah.
So anything else before we end this episode? Anything just about like starting out, just that like
something that I think is like a really good tool is, so Morgan and I both have said in this episode to unblock and look at yourself. If you don't really know what that means or where to start, now how are you feeling? Like take out a piece of paper, write down every feeling that comes up, and when you're done with that, take a look at any with like that's coming from a place of low self-worth, but look at those lower feelings and then write out why like that's not true, because you know it's not true, or like write out what's underneath that and just dissect it, and even dissect the good ones and say I feel fantastic, or like whatever, I feel like jiggly. Write out why you feel jiggly. I feel jiggly because I know I'm alive. Like, you know, just like that's how you do the work, is you look at your feelings and you dissect them and you just get to the root, and you look at the root if it's something you don't want anymore, and then you figure out how to remove the root of that. But that's just like a little something you can do to get you started in your unblocking.
I love that. That's a really great place to start. And I think, yeah, such a good place to start. I think too, just like journaling about yourself, free journaling is also very helpful. A lot of people start with journaling, and I think there's a reason for that because it's low cost, no risk involved, but like, you know, just write out how you feel and how you want to feel, you know, that can also, but yeah, I love that. Oh, I need that. I need to do that journal exercise. So, yeah, I think do you feel good to end here?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll see everyone in a week. Go from there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sounds great. All right.